The January 23rd, 2017 meeting of the Public Safety Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Elkoffer. Here. Ms. Boyce. Here. Mrs. Conley. Here. Mr. Delahanty. Here. Ms. Harris. Here. Chairman Michike.
Here.
Mr. Morelli.
Here.
Mr. Shepard is excused. Mr. Terp is excused. President Daniele.
Here.
Is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
Is there anyone present who is not signed up to speak who would like to address this committee at this time? Seeing none. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. You have the December 20th, 2016 minutes before you. They will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. Next item on the agenda is new business. Madam Clerk.
Referral 17-0004. Authorize the contract.
Moved by, excuse me, 1 second here. I know. 1 second. Okay. Moved by Legislator Boyce, second by Legislator Conley. Any discussion? Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, who else submitted an RFP for this service?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Fowler for the Sheriff's Office. We received a total of 5 proposals. The first company is Asset Works. Second company was CFI. Third company was Chevin. Fourth was Dossier. And the fifth was Faster.
Thank you. And have we used this company before?
This company, the Sheriff's Office has not used them before, but it is in use with the Water Department.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? See none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral 17-0005. Acceptance of a grant.
Second. Moved by Legislator Conley, second by Legislator Elkoffer. Is there any discussion? Legislator Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, what is the current backlog of the cases? And in the backlog that you have recorded, is it in line with last year's backlog in the previous years?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, John Clark from the Crime Lab. The backlog is relatively consistent from year to year. It does go up and down throughout the year. We have several different sections within the laboratory, and those backlogs are counted individually. The first one would be forensic biology, which has about a 500 case backlog. Drug chemistry has a 1,700 case backlog. Computer forensics has a 6 case backlog. The firearms section has a backlog of 2,600 cases. However, most of those cases are what are called inactive cases. And the trace analysis section has a backlog of about 70 cases.
Thank you very much. Through you to through the administration to the chair, I have additional questions. Is the accreditation due this year in 2017? And what would be the fee? And is it paid each year?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the accreditation fee is paid each year. It is $4,000. And we go through site visits or on-site surveillance visits for our accreditation process. And then once every 4 years, we have a larger, more thorough on-site assessment of the laboratory for that accreditation.
Thank you very much. And then I have my final question is there's like the software that's involved with this. Do we own some of the software? The software that's involved. Through you to the chair, I'm sorry, to the administration. To be clear, has it been updated recently?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, there is no software on this grant.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Legislator Boyce.
Can you please tell us what training is attended and how often that is?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the training is once a year. We like to send each analyst to some sort of training each year, and it varies depending on which section they work in, whether it's biology, firearms, computer forensics, trace analysis, or drug chemistry. Some of the training is hosted or put on by federal organizations such as the FBI and DEA, and some of that training is done by private organizations. However, at this point, we don't know what training courses our personnel will be able to attend.
Thank you very much.
President Daniele.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. When you cite the number of cases that are in the backlog, I have two questions. One, and you don't have to be specific on each one of these unless you choose to be, but what does like a 500 case backlog for forensic or 1,700 case backlog for the drug analysis, what does that mean in terms of time? Is that a 6-month backlog? And again, not an exact date, but is it 6 months, a year, 10-year? And then as a follow-up question, if there is a case that is, I guess, if there's a case that somebody deems is more urgent, are there methods by which the department elevates the priority for certain tests if there's a case coming up or something, so that certain cases become priority and get done much faster, whereas an inactive case for like a firearm that's inactive gets backburnered or never done because it's not a priority? Sorry for that stream of consciousness.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as I said, the backlog does fluctuate, and for example, the backlog in the biology section, which would include DNA, is about 500 cases. That is maybe 6 months worth of work, as opposed to the backlog in the chemistry section, which is about 1,700 cases. However, the difference between those cases in drug chemistry, when the case is dismissed or doesn't move forward in the court system, those cases don't necessarily have to be worked. There's no link you're going to make between drug cases. However, in the DNA section, theoretically, we'd like to complete every one of those cases. So if we do find a DNA profile, we can enter that into the database and hopefully link that to other crimes and possibly solve other crimes. In firearms, it's the same way, where they have a ballistics database. The cases, if they don't move forward in the court system, still get done eventually. And the other part of your question was about a priority process, which we do have set up in the laboratory. Obviously, any cases of a violent nature, such as homicide, or cases which the suspect is still at large and there is a threat to public safety, those cases would come first. Homicide cases next, and other violent crimes after that. And we do work very closely with our submitting agencies to prioritize all those cases.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Referral number 17-0006, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement.
Moved by Legislator Elkofer, second by Legislator Delahanty. Is there any discussion, Legislator Morelli?
Chairman, through you to the administration, is it possible we could just get a little bit of a brief explanation or summary as to this project and Then I may have a couple follow-up questions after that.
Through the chair, Jenny Verhagen, from Monroe County Public Safety. We are currently members of the group cited here, the Finger Lakes, New York Interoperable Communications Consortium. We actually work with all our neighboring counties for interoperability with communications. We've been doing it for quite a while, and actually a lot of the grants we get require us to be a member of a consortium. So we have an agreement to be a member, but this kind of codifies what we're actually talking about, specifically more related to like a high-speed data network.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, this would be this is a completely new system, correct? It's new lines and everything's being done for the first time?
Yep. Through the chair, it isn't actually a system. We are just kind of planning and working together. In the event anybody does get a grant and has the opportunity to connect to either new or existing infrastructure, it's just an agreement saying that we will work with them, but it doesn't really obligate us to anything.
Gotcha. So this doesn't have any financial attachments to it yet?
Through the chair, no.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chairman, is there any other projects that this group has worked together on, and sort of just more things that they've done together?
Through the chair, we do a lot of planning. We talk about status of where each system is. Sometimes, we borrow each other's like bids or RFPs if we can, why recreate the wheel. Sometimes you get a better deal if you talk to a vendor after somebody else has done it, or what they've done, what they've learned, so that kind of thing.
Thank you. And just quickly to go back to, through you, Mr. Chairman, back to the idea of a high-speed digital network. Is there any idea on how long it may take before this could actually be something viable?
Through the chair, again, we're kind of anticipating hopefully some grants from New York State. They are determining right now, kind of the state, where the gaps are and where they would like to see funding be allocated to, in essence, create networks of networks and hook them all together across the state, eventually.
Thank you.
Legislator Boyce.
Yes, through the chair, can you give us a little bit more insight as to when they talk about answering points? What does that mean?
Through the chair, a public safety answering point is basically a 911 center.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to clarify. If I could, a follow-up question with regards to that. So, do we talk about when we're kind of like when we're in a township, at maybe the edge of the county? Are we talking about when 911 calls maybe would go to another county? Are we talking about that and how that's being rectified?
Through the chair, one of the things we are talking about is perhaps if one county goes down, backing another county up, so having connectivity in that regard.
No, more with regards to, through the chair, if you make a 911 call and you're, say, almost at the border of another county and it goes to that county, if we were able to rectify that so that the call is answered by the proper county.
Through the chair, I believe that is more a function of we'd have to work with the provider, the phone provider, because the phone provider is what's directing it to the 911 system.
Ah, okay.
Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, please.
Referral number 17-0031, amend.
Moved by Legislator Delahanty, second by President Daniele. Legislator Delahanty.
Yeah. Through the chair, can this project be executed without a 2017 capital budget?
Through the chair, no.
President Daniele?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, are there other projects related to public safety and specifically the Sheriff's Department, since that's what we're talking about, that are being held up because of the capital budget vote?
Objection. Point of order, Mr. Chairman. What does that have to do with what's being discussed here at the table? I mean, if we're going to ask about everything, are we just going to this is like budget night. Everything's open to the table? I mean, we're talking about a specific item here.
It is talking about the CIP.
Okay, well, but there's a specific item that we're talking about, but the president has asked a question that would relate to anything that has ever been in front of the.
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm asking specifically about the Sheriff's Department and the CIP, which is on.
Okay,
thank you.
I'd like to overrule the decision of the chair.
Second it.
Okay, vote on the overruling.
Yes, sustains.
A vote of yes will sustain the rule of the chair. Mr. Alcoffer? Yes. Ms. Boyce? Yes. Mrs. Conley? Yes. Mr. Delahanty? Yes. Ms. Harris? No. Mr. Morelli? No. Chairman Michike?
Yes.
President Daniele? Yes. Vote is 8-0. The rule of the, I'm sorry, the vote is 6-2. The rule of the chair is sustained.
Through the chair, of course, any capital improvement projects that the sheriff has pending the passage of the capital improvement budget would be stalled. I don't know if this is all inclusive, but there is, for instance, the mainframe and tower pump station replacement, which is in the 2017 CIP for $700,000, would stall because of the lack of a capital budget. And the county public safety building reconstruction at $2.1 million would be in the same situation.
Is there any other discussion? Legislator Boyce.
Yes, with regards to this through the chair, how many vehicles would you say that are, you know, in the queue that have to be replaced might be of, you know, dire need that we're putting or subjecting people safety at harm?
Through the chair, approximately 49 vehicles.
49.
49.
Thank you.
Okay, Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the administration, the 49 vehicles that need to be replaced, if they don't get replaced, is the administration saying that the Sheriff's Department cannot properly function without 49 vehicles? Because I believe the legislator's question was how many vehicles would need to be replaced in order for that's putting people's lives at risk. So I just want to make sure it's 49 vehicles we need. Otherwise, people are in extreme danger. Is that correct?
Through the chair, I'm not certain I can respond to the extreme danger. I can indicate that the sheriffs will be compromised by not having their capital budget, including the vehicles, allowed.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, are there other vehicles that are perhaps in decent shape, or are we talking about replacing the entire sheriff's fleet?
So, through the chair, this would be, in time, the entire fleet would be replaced with this capital expenditure.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, how many of those vehicles would be replaced just this year?
Through the chair, this year, the 49 vehicles would be replacing 49 vehicles that do not meet the sheriff's specifications for responding safely in the community.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, how many vehicles does comprises the entire sheriff's fleet?
Through the chair, we would be happy to follow up later. I do not know how many vehicles they have.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, would it be safe to assume that 49 is a small percent of the sheriff's fleet?
Through the chair, apparently there is an approximation of 350 vehicles that would be involved total.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, we're talking about a total of 14, approximately, if my math is right, about 14% of the sheriff's fleet would be replaced this year, and the administration is telling us that we're putting the community in grave danger because 14% of the sheriff's fleet is not being replaced right away. Is that correct? I'm sorry. I believe that the comment was in grave danger. So I would like my question to be answered through you, Mr. Chairman.
Through the chair, I don't believe I used the term grave danger. I think that was the legislator's use of it. I said that his mission would be compromised, and I continue to assert that it would be compromised. The 350 vehicles is somewhat deceptive in that the 350 vehicles would include the vehicles that would tow the horses, other vehicles that are in the sheriff's inventory. I cannot give you the number of emergency vehicles, i.e. patrol cars, that are involved.
If I may, I'd like to speak on that. I did a ride-along with Zone B, and the car that I rode in was at least a 10-year-old Crown Vic, and with the amount of miles that they put on. Now, what the rest of their cars are, I have no knowledge. But the one I was in was at least 10 years old.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Mr. Chairman, the 49 vehicles that are being replaced, are we talking about only patrol cars, or are we talking about the trucks that may tow the horses as the administration referenced?
Mr. Chairman, this referral seeks to replace 17 marked sedans, 17 marked SUVs, 4 command sedans, 5 command SUVs, 2 jail transport vehicles, 2 specialized trucks and/or vans, and 2 motorcycles.
So through you, Mr. Chairman, we're not necessarily just talking about patrol vehicles. So again, it's of the 350, we're still talking about 14% of the sheriff's vehicles, regardless of what their use may be. Is that correct?
Without doing the math, through you, the chair, we can accept that 14% number.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? I would ask that each legislator leave their tablet at their desk, and the clerk staff will pick them up after the meeting has concluded. There being no other matters, the January 23rd, 2017 meeting of the Public Safety Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be held on Monday, February 27th, 2017 at 5:30 p.m.